practice Badanguliasana, so stand in Tadasana, feet together, legs engaged. Interlace your fingers and press your palms forward. Lengthen the spine from bottom to top. Stand right over your arches. And then let your arms press back as you think of the upper spine deepening into the body. Press the palms to the ceiling. Make more space between your hands and your feet. Let your inner thighs reach back, especially those upper inner thighs. And press the shoulder blades into the rib cage to take your arms further back. Lift the low belly to lift the whole circumference of the rib cage. Lengthen the waist and lengthen the armpits. And again, deepen the thoracic spine towards the chest. Thighs back, waist back, arms back. Elongating. And then exhale and lower your arms down and switch the interlace of the fingers and press your palms forward again, drawing up through the musculature of the legs. And press your arms back and up. Press the feet into the ground, press the palms to the ceiling, and make more space between the hands and the feet. Press your shoulder blades into the rib cage to deepen the upper spinal vertebrae towards the chest. Lift the low belly. Pubic bone and tailbone search for each other. Thigh bones back. Inner heels grounding. Big toe mounds grounding. Go up through the armpits. Extend the elbows. Lift from underneath the heart. And then exhale and lower the arms down. And now grab 2 blocks for Ardha Uttanasana and set your blocks down in front of your feet, which are shoulder distance apart. So parallel feet, lift the toes, lift the arches of the feet, hands on hips, shoulders back, lift the side ribs. Let your shoulder blades slide down as you look up and lift the collarbones, and then exhale and hinge at the hips to fold forward. Stay long in the fronts of the legs and lift the backs of the legs to lift the buttocks, hands onto the blocks, extended elbows. And look forward as you pull your bottom front ribs forward to elongate the belly, to be very long in the front of the trunk. Pull the outer hips back, pull the inner thighs back, and pull the rib cage forward. And see if you can let the upper spine sink down towards the chest and stretch your chest more forwards. Pull the upper thighs back as much as you're pulling those bottom ribs forward. Make more space between the arms and the legs, which are both extending. Deepen the thoracic vertebrae towards the chest. And then keep all of that magnificent length in the front of your trunk as you fold down into Uttanasana, taking your hands near your toes, fingertips on the floor, strong and long in the legs, and then hands to hips and stretch your chest forward, shoulders back as you come all the way up. And now we'll practice Uttanasana. Stand with your feet hip distance apart, hands on hips, strong, long, engaged legs, shoulders back, rib cage lifting, shoulder blades pressing forward into the rib cage. And then exhale and fold forward, lifting the inner legs, the outer legs, lifting the fronts of the legs, and lifting and lengthening the backs of the legs, and turn your pelvis over the femurs. And then let your trunk release down. Let the front ribs release down towards the toenails. Let the back ribs release down towards the back of the head. Let your skull release and relax down, going with gravity. Let your elbows go wide. Let the abdomen recede and get longer. Engage your legs so the musculature of the legs hugs the bones and lifts. Breathing here in Uttanasana. And then remain firm in the legs as you take your hands to hips, shoulders towards the ceiling to reach your chest forward and come all the way up with a strong spine. Now we'll practice an upright version of Prosarita Padottanasana. So stand in Tadasana, take your hands to your hips and step your feet quite wide, and have your heels wider than toes. Draw up through the legs and press your thigh bones back. Lift the low belly, let the waist settle back, long in the side ribs. Hook your thumbs and stretch your fingertips forwards and then all the way up overhead. Extend the arms up, reach the fingertips up. Lift the front ribs, the side ribs, and the back ribs. Press the feet down into the sticky mat and draw up through the musculature of the legs. And think of the shoulder blades pressing forward into the rib cage. Think of deepening the thoracic spine towards the chest. So there's no rounding happening in the upper back here, but rather the shoulder blades are pressing forward to lengthen the anterior thoracic spine. And then exhale and lower the hands down, change the hook of the thumbs, bring the other thumb in front, and then stretch the fingertips forward and up again. Again, press the feet and lift the arms, thigh bones back, muscles of the legs engaging and lifting, lift the low belly, and lengthen the front of the thoracic spine. Draw the shoulder blades forward. Arms back and waist back, abdomen lengthening, thigh bones back. Generate a profound internal lift from deep inside yourself, lifting up through the central axis of the body. And then exhale and lower the hands down. Take your hands to hips, shoulders back, long waist, and step your feet together. Grab your blocks for Ardha Prasarita. So place your blocks in front of you at about shoulder distance apart. And stand in Tadasana, engaged and lifted and long. Hands on hips. And then step your feet wide, heels wider than toes. Thigh bones grounding back. Buttocks releasing. Thighs internally rotating. And then lift your shoulders and then move them back and down. Shoulder blades hugging in towards the chest. And then hinge at the hips to fold, lifting the backs of the legs, lifting the buttocks, extending the backs of the knees. Take your hands to the blocks, and you can take the blocks on the highest height here. Stretch the front of the ribs forward. What you don't want to do is be rounded here with the buttocks tucked and the upper back round. Rather, bend your knees, lift the buttocks, lift the sitting bones, and stretch the bottom front ribs forwards to stretch the chest forwards. And even walk those blocks a little more further forward so your spine can lengthen even more. And then pull your thigh bones back as you continue to lift the buttocks, as you sink the thoracic spine deeper in towards your chest. Get long in the trunk. Inner thighs going back. Press the inner feet down so that you're grounded in an even way in the feet. And then walk your feet in slightly. Take your hands to your hips and keep an open chest as you come all the way up. And have your blocks in front of you now for an Ardha Prasarita twist variation. Hands on hips, long waist, lift the belly, thighs rolling in, and then exhale and fold and take your hands down to the blocks, which are on the highest height. Keep pulling the thigh bones back and the chest forwards. Lift the buttocks and pull the bottom front ribs forward. Relax and release internally so you can find more length in your trunk. And then move the block that's under your right hand to the center, directly under your heart, and unfold your left arm up to the ceiling to take a big twist. Keep your thigh bones pulling back. Keep the front of the spine long. Lift the left arm to the ceiling and turn the belly and the rib cage to the left. And then exhale and lower the left hand down. Take the block now that's under the left hand to the center and unfold the right arm, right fingertips up to the ceiling. Extend the legs, lift the buttocks, pull the thighs back, and then lengthen the anterior spine forwards, headwards, and lift the right arm and shoulder more to turn the belly and the rib cage to the right. Toes lifting, arches lifting. Take your right hand down. And then we'll repeat again to each side. And you can take the block to a lower height if that feels accessible to you. So continue on your own. And switching sides now. And back to center now with both hands on blocks. And then walk your feet in slightly, hands to hips. Keep the chest open as you come up to stand. And then step your feet together and release your arms by your sides. Now we'll practice what I call the Prosarita Dog. So have your blocks ready in front of you, and then step your feet wide so that your heels are wider than your toes, thighs rolling in, muscles of the legs engaged and lifting up, thighs pressing back. Lift the low belly, lift the side ribs, shoulders back, lift from under the heart, and then exhale and fold yourself forward, taking the hands to the blocks. Keep your legs very active and very tall. Keep lifting the backs of the legs as you slide your blocks forward, taking your upper body into a down dog position. Pull the outer hips up and back. Pull the inner thighs back. Stretch your hands and arms forwards as you let your head release down between the arms. Think of the thoracic spine deepening towards the chest. Abdomen is long, and the front of the spine, the anterior spine, is very elongated here. Stay lifted in the fronts and backs of the legs evenly. Stay grounded in the inner feet. Press your hands into the blocks and release the top of the head down. Stay open and relaxed and lifted in the back of the throat. Let the abdomen recede and lengthen. Breathing here. And then walk your hands back so the blocks are right under the shoulders, and then walk your feet a little closer. Bend your knees, hands to hips, shoulders back, and lift the chest to come on up. And then step your feet together. And now come onto your belly for some Cobra Undulations. So make your way onto your belly and lengthen your right and left legs back one at a time so that you become very long on the floor here. And then have your hands alongside your rib cage, flat on the sticky mat, and lift the shoulders and outer arms up towards the ceiling. Let the elbows pull back and a little wide. Anchor your tailbone down, spread the toes open, internally rotating in the thighs. And think of the rib cage pulling forwards and up, and start to lift the collarbones and lift the chin. Breathing here in the cobra. And then exhale and lower yourself down and let your head release down. And now inhale, roll yourself up into a higher cobra and let your head come up last. And then exhale, roll your spine back down, letting your head come down last. Inhale, using the arms, rolling your spine up, anchoring the tailbone, lift the chest, lift the chin as you finish the inhalation, and then exhale as you undulate back down at the end of the exhale, chin to chest. And continue this way, creating length in your body as you undulate. Shoulders back, elbows pull back. And now we'll practice a higher cobra. So walk your hands forward a little bit on your sticky mat. Anchor your tail and start to lift the front ribs up, pulling the rib cage forwards as you lift the front of the spine up towards the ceiling. Let your shoulders go back. Press into your spread out hands. Come up a little higher and lift your chin. And then exhale and come all the way down. Now grab a blanket and spread it out on your sticky mat as you see here, and lay down so that your frontal hips have some padding. So lay down onto the blanket, belly down, lengthen your legs back, and then bend your knees and grab onto your ankles for Dhanurasana Bow Pose. And start to lift the thighs up. Keep your knees magnetized towards each other. Kick your ankles back into your hands and then lift the ankles up. You can literally lift the ankles up with your hands and also use your legs to lift the shins and heels up towards the ceiling. Let the outer shoulders lift up, breathing here. And then exhale and release down. Now we'll practice Setu Bandhasana. So lay down on your back, knees bent, knees parallel and feet flat. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Relaxing any unnecessary contractions in your belly and your trunk. And walk your feet a little closer to your sitting bones and quite wide. And then ground down through the arms and start to lift the buttocks up. Interlace your fingers and walk your shoulders underneath you even more. And then press the interlaced fingers down into the sticky mat. Press the wrists down, forearms down. Let the outer arms ground down. Lift the heels to lift the buttocks more. Lift the tailbone. Pull the shoulder blades into the rib cage so that the chest moves towards the chin gently. And then ground the heels again and lift the buttocks more. Lift the outer hips and gather your outer knees in. Gather your outer thighs in. Ground the forearms and lift the outer buttocks. Lift the tail. Press into the heels and lift the right and left sides of the tailbone again. And then exhale and roll yourself back down. And now have your bolster for Urdhva Dhanyarasana. So rest your bolster down on your sticky mat vertically. And then sit your butt down on the edge of your bolster and lay your whole torso out on the bolster vertically. So your head may come off the edge of the bolster, and that's fine. Knees bent and feet flat. Take your feet, pretty close into the sitting bones, pretty close to the bolster, and then set up your hands in the Urdhva Dhanyarasana position with fingertips pointing towards the shoulders, and connect your elbows towards the shoulder sockets so the humerus bones connect deeply into the sockets. Activate your feet, and then press your feet down into the ground. Press your hands into the ground and lift your buttocks up. Lengthen the arms, lengthen the legs, lift the tailbone and let your head release down. Pull the shoulder blades into the rib cage to open the chest more. Gather your outer knees towards each other, inner feet grounding, lifting the outer hips. Breathing here. And then exhale, bring the chin towards the chest and lower yourself back down onto the bolster. And roll over to your side carefully and come on up. Now we'll do a wonderful twist that I call the grab big toes twist. So be on your back with your arms extended out to the sides, and then bend your knees and let your knees fall over to the right. Grab onto your big toes and extend your legs so that you're at a very acute angle here. So you're grabbing onto those big toes. Legs are extending as much as possible. And this is a very deep twist. Now let your belly turn to the left and extend your left arm to the left. See how much you can open your rib cage to face towards the ceiling. So the front ribs face towards the ceiling. And enjoy the depth and the churning of this twist here. So be long through the wingspan, be extended in the legs, but allow a deep relaxation to come over you in this pose. There is some passivity, some receptivity that's important in this pose. And then release and come to center and get ready for the other side, letting the knees fall over to the left. Grab your big toes. Be in a very acute angle twist here and extend your right arm to the right. Slide the belly to the right. Open the right ribs to the right. Be wide through the collarbones and the arms, extended through the inner legs. And deeply relax and release here. And slowly start to come out of the pose now. Knees bent and feet flat on the floor. And take a breath here in a neutral position. Now we'll practice Supta Virasana. So get your bolster ready. Spread out your blanket as you see here. Come onto your shins. Bring the top of your head to the floor and pull your calves out to the sides so you can rest your thighs down and your hips down between your feet. Make sure your feet are pointing straight back. And then pull your torso back so that the bolster is supporting you under your rib cage. And then reach your arms up and overhead. Think of the roots of your thighs, the very tops of your thighs, sinking and releasing down. Soften in your groins. Let the pubic bone release down towards the floor. Think of a soft, long belly here, a long abdomen. Stretch your arms back. Keep the hands and fingers open. Let your head release back over the bolster. And enjoy the length in the front side of your trunk. long abdomen here. Release the right and left sides of the pubic bone down, softening more and more in the groins. And use your hands for support as you come out of the pose. Lean onto your hands and stretch your right leg back to open the back of the right leg, and then stretch the left leg back to open the back of the left leg. Now get ready for Supta Badaknasana. So have your bolster on the sticky mat lengthwise and have an open blanket near your feet as you see here. And tuck your buttocks under so the flesh of your buttocks is pulled away from your lower back, and then lengthen yourself back out onto the bolster. And let your feet come together and the knees open, and wrap the blanket over the feet. Find a way to bunch up the blanket so that you're supported. And then grab onto opposite elbows and have your arms all the way overhead. Relax and release the internal trunk here so that your breath can move freely through the trunk. Let the breath move up and down the spine. And as you relax in your trunk, see if more length comes naturally. Relax and release the abdomen, unsticking, ungripping any contraction. And then switch the cross of the arms. And pull for a moment the elbows long behind you so that your arms are elongating out of the waist. And let your arms rest as you settle, as you elongate the exhalations here. Release and relax the hips and the groins. Enjoy the support of the bolster for your upper back. And enjoy the passive extension, allowing any tightness along the front of the spine to become open and free and long. And now open your arms out into a cactus position. So the elbows come towards the floor at around shoulder height. And the forearms are parallel. And your forearms may or may not come to the floor here. It depends on how open you are. It depends on the height of your bolster. But just explore this nice open position in the chest, elbows wide. Armpits releasing and relaxing. You can slide your shoulder blades down your back a little bit here. And if you need to change your arm position, that's also fine. Smooth inhalations, smooth exhalations. And feel the entire length of your trunk from the pelvic floor all the way to the thoracic outlet where the neck meets the trunk. Feel that length. Feel the dimension of your trunk, its depth, its length, its width. Relax internally here. And then roll over onto your side to come out of the pose. Now we'll practice Shavasana, and we'll do what I call a wide Shavasana, with the limbs nice and wide. So set yourself up by taking the flesh of the buttocks away from the lower back. And have your head resting on a blanket here, so there's some softness under the head. And then stretch your arms out wide and stretch your legs out wide, like a starfish. And just enjoy the spaciousness of this Shavasana, letting the limbs be expansive and relaxed at the same time. And deepen your breath here. And let your next exhalation be very slow and gradual and smooth. Relax and release.